the world go round.
Many people, on a national level, feel like corporations banking is taking over our Congress in general, and I don't know if you're aware of companies like Monsanto who are doing things like patenting life. They actually patent seeds, and which is actually kind of controversial. Well, it's unconstitutional. It's controversial. They're actually working. The executive or the executives actually go back and work in the government, FDA, and come back and work for the private sector. What do you see as far as the field? Is it true that as far as Americans, we feel like that the Congress is actually working for big banking, big corporations, and of course we know that they got the majority of the money, and they're turning quite a bit of profits, but the average person on the ground level is not. And companies like Monsanto, who've actually created unconstitutional laws, how do you see corporate America, big corporate America, not small entrepreneurs that actually are tax based and actually are the backbone of America, going away in corporations actually in kind of a partnership with the government?
I'll say this. I mean, the men and women that I call friends in the Congress, I mean, they're honorable people, and I haven't seen any corporate corruption on their end. Now, is it there? I'm not stupid enough to say it's not, but I haven't seen it. But I will say this, John. There is a major disconnect about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and what's going on in Main Street. And I'll give you a perfect example. When the health care debate was going on, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was walking back and forth across the street, and I saw one sign, time and time again. There was a little placard about this big, 3 simple words: "You're not listening." The House switchboard was receiving 100,000 calls an hour and completely shut it down. And yet the Democrats in this nation passed an unconstitutional government health care takeover because they have no concept of what the nation was built on or what's going on in America today. I'm a bigger believer in term limits than I ever have been at all levels. And I'm a bigger believer that if we're going to take this nation back, we're going to have to do it one state at a time.
Now, there's rumors out there. Actually, a couple of legislators got caught on record on YouTube that they were actually threatening legislators as far as creating leverage with respect to the votes and what happens up there. And I think that with the technology and internet, you kind of see a lot of things that are going on that are not on CNN or Fox News. So, is there this leveraging as far as votes? Or I mean, I sometimes I get people to come up to me and say, "What do they really know why they're voting in contrary to the platform they ran on?" Yeah. And the only logical explanation for most of us is, well, they either have something in their closet, or they're just leveraged, or they're being threatened behind closed doors. So, is that really happening up there as far as legislators are behind closed doors being threatened, or because obviously everybody wants to win the votes, but at the same time, is that the reason for the disconnect, or is this leverage point in Washington?
Well, I think the bottom line, whether it's money for your district, whether it's threatening to take you off a committee or whatever, the fact of the matter is, I think that there's too many congressmen and congresswomen up there that are more concerned about being reelected than doing the right thing. I mean, that's the bottom line.
But they're going to contrary. I mean, obviously, if 98% of Americans say no bailout and they still vote for it, it's kind of hard to imagine that there must be something there wedging opinion. I mean, that's kind of harder because we're not in the mix, so we're kind of making suggestions.
Part of the problem is, you remember the old Southern Democrat, yes, who might have been fiscally conservative, but maybe a little socially liberal or something like that, or one or the other. But there were a lot of old conservative Southern Democrats. Not anymore, guys. I mean, they're either Republican or they're liberal Democrats. I mean, Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and Barack Obama have run the last few conservative Democrats out, and the last 2 switched over to the Republican Party. I mean, and that's part of the problem, because I think a lot of them, not all of them, but I think there's a few cases of what you're talking about, but I think a lot of them now believe it. They believe that the answers to this nation are in government. That government can tell you better how to spend your money and where you can work and how much money you're going to get and how to better take care of you, than you can. I mean, there's a lot of people up there that actually believe that.
Would you be able to, this doesn't have anything to do with governorship, would you be able to call Lindsey Graham sometime the next day or two, tell him we don't want his cap and trade?
Patrick, I've told him. I like Lindsey. I mean, he's a friend, but he's dead wrong on his cap and trade. I mean, I've told him to his face. I mean, and don't take my word for it. It's $1,700. I mean, excuse me. The average co-op customer bill will go up $1,400 per year, and could cost South Carolina up to 17,000 jobs. I mean, it's wrong for America.
I was the treasurer for his opposition on the Democratic side. In the last election, we spent 20 cents per vote. Lindsey Graham spent $5 per vote.
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham only won by 7%. He needs to understand the state doesn't support him anymore. If the Democratic Party had have supported his opposition, he would have lost that.
Yeah. But he's wrong on his cap and trade.
Would you be in favor of a paper vote mechanism tracking function in the state of South Carolina for keeping records on voting?
Absolutely. Do it.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to cut out here in just about 2 minutes.
Okay.
But some type of backup system. Absolutely.
Would you like to summarize anything or anything else that we didn't cover that you want to speak?
No, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time. I mean, this is an important race for South Carolina, and I just think the time has come that we have a governor that's going to roll up his sleeve and work with people, and realize that government is not the answer. It's the individual. And realize that states have a role in the way we're going to take this nation back. It is one state at a time. And I'll tell you something. I mean, I think I've got the credentials. I remember as a freshman, I was one of 16 members that stood up to President Bush, who I loved and prayed for, when it came to Medicare Part D. And I remember standing on the back row after the longest vote in the history of the House, and people just wearing me down. But yet I stood. I still can't believe that the Speaker of the House even spoke to me after that, because we had some words. But I don't. Denny Hastert. And I've said a few ugly things to him, Pastor. I'm sorry, but after about 6 hours of telling people no,
Well, since you're having to leave almost instantly,
yes, sir.
the states are going to have to take back their constitutional states' rights,
Yes, sir.
or this country won't survive. And they are going to have to say no to the federal government when they are unconstitutional.
Yes, sir.
And I think in states like South Carolina, most of the southern states, some of the western states, I think the people will back up governors and legislators who will take that stand.
Yes, sir. I agree. I think the time has come to take back our nation.
Because the federal government is becoming a dictatorship.
Yes, sir. As I like to say, a nanny state.
Well, would you describe the sentiment of Americans as concerned or fearful at this point?
Yes.
Both?
I mean, I would say that they're concerned, they're afraid, they're distrustful, they're scared. I mean, they see. I mean, I look around this room, I see gray hair like me, with the exception of you.
I got a little bit.
But it's our generation that have lived free, that see what's coming. I'm not so sure that some of the younger folks see quite like we do.
Well, the Tea Party is evidence of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And God bless the Tea Parties, because it's waking people up to what's really, and let me tell you something, I support the Tea Parties wholeheartedly, because they're not terrorists, unlike some people say. They're not right-wing fanatics. They're not right-wing nuts.